It's John from DoubleSleeved here.
Do I think Lurrus is a top tier card? I don't see it being a hugely competitive card. There are better companions. Do I think that Obosh or Lurrus are better? No one is looking at this card and going, oh yeah. Urian, is it? What's its problem? You're looking at a card that needs more time to process.
Hello friends, and welcome to the Companion Summary Review. I hope you enjoyed that intro. If you want to hear more about where those sound clips came from, then why don't you check out my Companion Review playlist, where I go into more detail about each individual companion specifically. In this video I'm going to talk about the companion mechanic, its upsides, its downsides, all about it. Then I'll rank all of the companions from 1 to 10. Remember, this is specifically standard format, not any of the others. So if you want to see the other formats, leave a comment below and I'll see what I can do. Let's get into it. The mechanic. You get a companion in your sideboard that you can play at any time as long as you adhere to the card's unique companion rules. These requirements specify a particular deck composition intending to create a more difficult deck building experience through its additional criteria as a downside for getting the accessible free creature. Each card has its own rules, so again check out my playlist if you want to hear a more in-depth look at each of these cards. Let's do a bit of analysis of the companion mechanic. So is it worth altering your deck building process purely to enable the availability of an additional card? I went into this in a few other videos as some of the rules cause more of a problem than others. But as a general rule, if you can restrict your card pool, then you're more likely to miss out on the top tier cards and skew your mana curve or draw percentages. An example of this is Obosh and Garuda. Each require either odd or even mana costs in your starting decks, therefore limiting roughly half of the cards that are available and forcing unusual plays during the first few turns. So how good is the companion mechanic? You have access to your companion card guaranteed. That's the equivalent of having a tutor in your hand played for free and finding that card that you need. The only downside is everyone knows you've got it and everyone knows when you're going to play it. Or do they? So you've told your opponent that you're running a companion. It's sat next to you on the table. This creates a situation where you know and your opponent knows that you can cast it. With the mana open, it could be telegraphed. However, it can also allow you to do a bit of bluffing and potentially use the mana for something else. Lastly, companions are all creatures, counterable by a large number of counter spells, destroyable by a large number of direct damage or removal spells, and defeated in combat like any other creature. This is one of the mechanic's biggest weaknesses. There are also cards designed to deal with the entire mechanic, the clearest of which being the Dranith Magistrate, which prevents casting spells from anywhere but your hand. And to a lesser extent, Hushbringer, which prevents ETB effects, stopping Garuda, Urian, Karuga and Lutri. This brings me on to my last key point, value. 4 of the creatures have one-use ETB effects. These are instant threats, and although they remain on the board as creatures, their main appeal lies in their initial impact. The remaining 6 have continuous or triggered effects. It is important to understand what part your companion is playing in your deck, as redeciding your deck for a one-off effect like Urian, Garuda or Karuga means if your setup fails, you've hampered yourself for no good reason at all. Fundamentally, if you wouldn't play that card in your deck normally, don't build a deck around it. Now for the standard ranking, are you ready? Based on the positive game impacts and the negative deck requirements, our number 10 is Gigantha. A 5-mana mana dork is too costly and puts it nearly in Nyxbloom territory. Tapping for all 5 colours is great, but it even comes with its own restrictions. Not being able to play with any double mana cards rules out some of the top quality cards in the format at the moment. Gigantha is one for singleton formats only and not standard. Number 9, Zerda. Let it be known, this could jump to the top. Unfortunately, she doesn't offer enough in the current standard meta. She's a nice to have and not a need to have, and only really in Boros cycling, which is yet to find its feet. Number 8, Lutri. Banned in singleton formats and not played in standard. You're cheap to play and you're in the right colours, but the same effect can be found elsewhere. You're not game winning, and unfortunately you throw your deck building percentages too far out. Number 7, Garuda. I said it in my first video, massively overhyped and not worth the restrictions. As a one-off effect, your opponent has 4 to 5 turns to deal with it. When it comes off, it can win games, but it's just not consistent enough. Number 6, Umori. Some fun decks can be built, but missing planeswalkers or enchantments in this meta is too costly. As a member of the 60, it may see play. Number 5, Kahira. It should have been higher, but green-white is too limiting. 2 toughness means it dies to shock. If you can get it on the board and protect it, maybe it'll pay off, but turn 2 or 3, that's Uro's territory at the moment. Number 4, Karuga. It should have been lower, but the standard meta at the moment loves big spells. Sacrificing a couple of turns to hit big on turn 4 or 5 is exactly what some of them are doing. Jeskai Fires, plenty of good Planeswalker decks are crying out for a card like Karuga. I don't think it'll last at the top though. 3, Urian. Yes, it's currently the most played companion. It does what Karuga does, but so much better. However, it's too situational, and it doesn't stack up to other control decks favourably, due to its large deck size and consequently lower land and counter percentages. 2, Lurrus. That's right, Lurrus is tearing up Vintage with its recursion effect, but outside of Rakdos Sacrifice and White Life Gain, Lurrus is the most counterable companion. If its deck building restrictions were 3 and lower, not 2 and lower, it would be broken. 1. That leaves us with Obosh. Red and black are 2 of the most powerful colours in Standard at the moment. The restrictions are annoying but not unplayable, and Obosh has a game-winning and long-lasting effect that we will see win games regularly, not to mention that Lurrus sits nicely in the 60. There you go, a mechanic breakdown and standard ranking done. Make sure you're subscribed as we're working hard to get you the best content we can. Tell us your thoughts in the comments below or on social media. What did we miss? What was your ranking? And will Companion last in the standard meta? Either way, we'll see you in the next one.